Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you how to complete question 1 in the AQA product design exam paper. So for this you're going to need a pencil, you're going to need a rubber, you're going to need some coloured pencils. You could use a ruler if you wanted to, but it's not a prerequisite. You can mostly just sketch everything freehand, and you just need to make sure they're nice and sharp. So let's have a look at the question first of all. There are 4 parts to the question. There is 1A, which is usually design criterion. So basically these are the things that your product will need to do to be successful, and you need to give a reason for them. We'll go through that in a second. 1B, which is to actually design a product based around a theme, and I'll talk about the theme in just a second. You get half a page and a full page to do that. You can see that's there. That's the first question is worth 6 marks. This is worth 15. And then if we turn over 1C, using your design criteria, evaluate the suitability of your design. So you need to do some evaluation here. That's worth 6 marks. And then there's usually a question about some kind of commercial production process. This is worth 1 mark. So in total, that is worth 6, 15, so that's 21 marks, 27, 28 marks. So it's quite a lot of marks in the first question. Now the advantage we're at with the first question, question 1, is that we will be told the theme. So we will know what the theme of the question is going to be. So last year's question, which is this question here, was flat pack collection boxes. So I put together this mood board for you to have a look at, to give you some ideas for your own flat pack collection box. And at some point we'll have a go at making some of those there. So you can see what they're looking for is something that's quite creative. So this is obviously an unusual shape. It could be. It could slot together. So you can see that these pieces just slot together. It could be made from a net. So what they're looking for is either a net or something that slots together. Made from different materials, made from thin card, made from plastic, could be made from wood. Those are the 3 main materials. It's obviously for a charity. There needs to be a slot for the money. It needs to be held, and it needs to be also suitable for use, but we'll talk a bit more about in a second. So we can use that as some inspiration for your ideas. Let's just put that to one side. So the first part of the question, let's have a quick look at that, is for this question, in the table below, give 3 design criteria which will make a new and innovative collection box fit for a purpose. Give 1 reason for each design criterion. So a design criterion is something that the product must do to be successful. So to be a successful flat pack collection box, obviously it must be flat pack. So one of the things there, it must be flat pack, which means that it will fold flat, or it will be in pieces that are flat, and then it will be assembled. So to save storage space, the reason for that, to save storage space when being transported from the place of manufacture to the end user. So when they put it in the truck and it's being delivered, it doesn't take up much space. They can fold it and they can deliver it flat. So there are quite a few possible answers to the design criterion, but the kind of top 3 would be, obviously, if it's going to be flat pack, it needs to be assembled, so easy to assemble. The reason for this is the user, so the user being whoever's going to go out and collect the money with the collection box is able to construct the box themselves quickly. You could just say be able to construct the box themselves, but I've added on that they need to be able to do it quite quickly. They don't want to take too long to be able to put the box together. Number 2, possible to take the money out. So obviously once the money is being collected, the money needs to be taken out. So that the reason for that, so that there is easy but secure access to the money collected inside. You could just settle for just easy access, but I've decided to add secure as well because we don't want the money to fall out while it's being carried. We don't necessarily want it to be easy or that easy to be able to take the money out just in case it gets taken. And then the third one is the slot is big enough for all coins or notes. So any type of money, the reason is any type of money can be collected in the box easily. So we want to make the slot where the money goes in, we want to make that big enough for the biggest coin, and we want to make it big enough so that the largest note, if it's folded, can be also put in easily. So that question is worth 6 marks. You'll get a mark for the description and you'll get a mark for the reason. So the reason just can be quite short, quite concise. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for each of those. And obviously you could possibly think of some more criterion and more reasons. If you can think of anything different, then please have a go at writing those answers down. Okay, so you can use those as sample answers. Okay, so let's turn over. The next page is the actual design page. Okay, and we've got 2 spaces to work in. In the exam, they will also give you a little bit of a mood board. They give you some images to help you, so you can use those for inspiration. Let's read the question. In the space provided, use notes and sketches to show your design for a flat pack collection box. Marks will be given for a creative solution that meets your design criteria and includes surface decoration. So you need to bear these things in mind when you're designing. So you'll need to be successful, it needs to meet those criteria. Specific names of materials and construction techniques. Details of how to assemble your collection box before use. How to open your collection box to get the money out. So you need to make sure that your design ticks each one of those. Okay, so you need to bear those in mind when you're designing your box and when you're presenting your ideas. The images below are given to inspire you. And this is worth 15 marks. So there's a lot of marks available to you here. So let's look at a sample answer. You should have a copy of this anyway, but you can see that I've decided to choose the kind of the disaster fund. So you can see a house and a bit that's been destroyed. So I've decided to take the shape of the house, simplify it, and use that as the shape of the collection box. I've put lettering on there. I've drawn that very kind of accurately using a ruler and using sketches to help me with the letters, and then I have added some colour to emphasize the letters, make them stand out, and then I've added some details like the rope so that the user can hold the charity box easily. And you can see that I've just drawn these kind of ghosted hands in to give the box some kind of scale and how it would be held. Okay, you see on the right hand side I've had the details, so that's kind of my main, that's the kind of a 3D view of the product, and then on this page I've gone into the detail of how I would make that. So I would use a net. I've given details of how I would cut the net out, how the net would be cut. I've done an orthographic projection, so a view from the front, a view from the side, some dimensions, basic dimensions, and then I've talked about how you would open the lid to be able to get inside, to be able to open the box to be able to get the money out. Okay, so I'm gonna, in a minute, I'm gonna go through that paper and show you how to draw those. I'll just give you another example. Another example would be this, and again what I've done is I've taken this idea from one of the photographs. We will prepare for the exam. So what we'll do is we'll look at the theme and I'll give you some preparation material for that, and we can make sure that you're really well prepared for this question. Here's another example. This one's kind of taken from the picture here. Obviously I've simplified the dog's face, more kind of cartoon like. Charities are ISPCA. So I've chosen a Royal Society for the Protection of Cruelty to Animals, charity, and we'll talk about some charities as well. And again, what I've done is created a three-dimensional drawing here, and then on this side of the page I've kind of given the details of how I would actually make that product. Slightly different this time. There isn't a net because it's quite a complex shape to be able to draw from a net, lots of curves. So that's just going to be two pieces of material. I'll talk about that in a minute, but two pieces of material, and then they're joined by a piece which wraps around it, which slots into the slots that you can see on the drawing. And all the details here of how I would make it, the materials, the techniques, etc. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a go at the question. So I'm going to go through a few things with you as I do it. So here's what obviously the paper will look like when it doesn't have anything drawn on it. And I'm now going to have a go at drawing the product. Okay. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through here. What I would do first of all, as you're answering the question, is just go through the question. So it needs to be creative and pick out the key points. It needs to meet the design criteria. It has to have surface decoration. So I'm going to have to put lettering or some kind of colouring on it or some kind of graphics. Names of materials, specific names of materials. Construction techniques, how I would make it. How to assemble it, and how to open the collection box as well. So I just picked out the main points there very quickly. So this question should take about half an hour, so I'm going to go through this quite quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my shape for my dog's head very quickly. And again, what I would do is I would just roughly draw this. I wouldn't press on too hard with your pencil, just roughly sketch it in. And if you're not happy with it, obviously it's easier then to change that. I'm quite happy with that. I've got his kind of face here, and then I'm going to draw some details in. I'm going to take from the photograph, use the photograph to help me, but I'm going to obviously simplify that to break it down. He's got a nose. The slot, here's where the creativity comes in. I'm going to use his mouth as the slot. So people are going to use his mouth as a slot, which is a nice little touch. I could put the slot up here. I could put it on top, but I'm not. I'm going to use his mouth because that's kind of the right shape, size maybe. And then some eyes. But so if you're going to do something that's quite cartoon-like, then just break it down into very simple and easy to draw shapes. So that's the basic shape of the dog, and I'm happy with that now. So I'm just going to go over that a bit darker, and I'm going to draw in some solid lines. So they're no longer these sketchy lines. I'm going to draw in that quite dark, like that. Now I'm going to use a very simple technique to make it look 3D. I'm just going to use oblique projection, which is drawing out at 45 degrees. So I'm going to draw a line like that, and then from here I'm going to draw a line. Okay, so basically the kind of the far left point where it goes to curve, where that curve goes in, I'm going to draw a line, and when that curve starts to go back in, back round, I'm going to draw a curve as well. And basically it's quite easy. All I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the shape of the head and the ear like that. Okay, it's not completely accurate, but that's okay. And from that point there would be a line, from that point would be a line, because there's a point there. I'm going to just draw that out like that, and there you go. I've made my flat 2D drawing look a bit more three-dimensional. And then I'm going to add a thickness to the material, so a line just inside that other line. I'm going to do the same on here. So I know that material has a thickness, because it's not as thin as a piece of paper, it's going to be a thick piece of material. Now I need to think about how the back and the front would be joined. Now I've decided that it's going to slot together, so I'm going to put some slots in around the edge, and I'm going to put them fairly close together. There's going to be quite a few of them. I'm going to put an extra one in, one here, one here. I'm going to try and keep them all about the same size, and I'm going to try and mirror the position of them on each side of the dog. I've not quite managed to do that. Okay, and there might be one also there. Okay, that's not too bad. There we go. So I'm seeing, I've basically drawing in some slots that would help the sides slot into position. And now I need to talk about what this is going to be. I'm going to talk about what it's going to be. So this is going to be, it's for a charity. That's going to be the RSPCA, Wildlife Protection Cruelty to Animals. And then I'm going to start talking about, so it's going to be animals, dogs, it could be, obviously I've written a dog, it could be a cat, okay, it could be different animals. Now I'm going to talk about, okay, that's the front, the back. Now I'm going to draw a little view of the back. Try and draw the same shape. It's not that great, but it's similar. And then I'll think about how I would take the money out of the back of that. Probably what I would do is put a hole in the back, and then some kind of stopper, some kind of plug almost that goes into the back of there. Okay, so there's a hole, a plug, and I'm just going to draw the plug. When you're drawing circles at 3D, you kind of squash them and they become ovals, and then there's going to be kind of little handles sticking up there, so you can kind of twist it and pull it out. And there's going to be a thread, which means it's going to be it's going to screw into the back there. So that's, I'm going to describe that. So that would be maybe made from acrylic. Call it a stopper. Could call it a plug. In back. Okay, and then I'm going to have a little arrow pointing to that. So that's what that part is. And I'm going to label that's the back of my design, my product. So there's a little nice little construction detail there. I'm going to talk about the slots. So the slot, I'm going to draw the slot to scale, which means that I'm going to draw it full size. So it's going to be 50 millimeters. This is where obviously a ruler could come in. So I've gone a little bit short, so I'm going to make that a little bit longer. You can see I want that to be 50. So that's the real size of the slot. So sometimes it helps to draw not all of the design, but part of the design full size. So the size of this is important. So if I draw it full size, I'll know what size it is. And if I imagine the coins going in, yeah, definitely all the coins that I know of anyway. 50p being the biggest, probably, £2. Definitely fit in there. To dimension something, two little leader lines, remember? Dimension line all the way across, and two little arrowheads either side. And yours are right in millimeters, so it's going to be 50 millimeters, like that, and the millimeter sits on the line. I'm going to point that out, so mouth is slot, and also I've got to add the dimension of the thickness of the slot. Now for a dimension that's quite small, you do a different way. You do the two leader lines, and then you have arrows pointing inwards, and then we're going to draw the dimension here, 5 millimeters. Okay, so that's how you do that, is two little lines, then the arrows pointing inwards, and then obviously that's the slot size. To label that, so try to label everything, talk about what you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to, so an arrow kind of going round as if I'm pointing back, so hole in back to remove money. could be that there's colour, so the surface is printed, and most packaging, most card or paper packaging is done with lithography printing. Okay, we'll look at that. Lithography printing. The ears, so ears are like handles. So you can imagine someone holding it in their hand, their hands gripped around the ears, the handles. Okay. An arrow pointing that out. If this was made of paper card, you have to protect the graphics, so we do that with varnish to protect graphics. So anything printed on it will be called graphics. Make sure your notes are very, very neat and tidy. Try to do small capital letters if you can. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'll come back to that later. Now what I'm going to do now is take that and then break it apart and work out how I'd actually make it. Okay, so this is one of the important pieces. So first of all, I'm going to draw the front piece, and what I'm going to do is, obviously it doesn't matter if it's not exactly the same, as long as you can recognize that it is the same piece. And what I'm going to do is some kind of exploded view. I'm going to draw the two pieces, one behind the other. So I'm going to imagine that I'm going to draw this again. There's the bump of the head. There's the ear. I'm drawing exactly the same shape, but I'm drawing it behind the other one. It's not great, but it's okay. It's pretty good. So one shape behind the other, and I'm going to draw arrows kind of pointing this way to kind of suggest that the two pieces kind of lock together. Again, I'm going to draw in the slots. I draw in the slots, and then okay, so that's most of the slots. Again, they don't have to be exactly the same. And then I'm going to draw in, it's going to be the back, so I'm going to show the back this time. There's the hole talking about. I'll make it three-dimensional by drawing that line inside there so I can see an edge there. Looks a bit more 3D. Obviously this has got an edge as well, so I'm going to just draw an edge. You only see the right hand side, just about to see the top. You wouldn't see the left hand side. You only draw the edge on the right hand side. Okay, you can see that. Let's draw that in a bit more clearly. Okay, there we go. Same on this edge as well. So I'm using that oblique technique, which is basically you're adding an edge at 45 degrees. It's a curved edge, so there we go. Okay, that's quite nice. Just go around that. So it's clear how that fits together. But obviously, the two pieces, they're just two flat pieces. They need some kind of edge. So what there would be is a piece. And if I just sketch it out first, I want to sketch a piece that kind of goes all the way around, but locks into those tabs. So there'd be a piece, long thin piece of material. Let's try and evenly space these out, these tabs. Obviously you might have to count the tab. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There should be 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to run out of space, but that's okay. Okay, they're going to get the idea of what you're talking about. And the whole idea is just to make sure that you're very clear with your sketches and you add notes to explain. Okay, so obviously what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a tab there. I'm going to draw it out. So this piece here, there's a tab there, and there's a tab here, say, and I'm going to put the slot. Sorry. So the slots. These are called tabs. Okay, cool. We've got slots and we've got tabs. The tabs obviously go into the slots. So slots cut into back and front parts, and then this piece wraps around sides and slots into place. Okay, so I've explained that goes into there. So what I might do as well is a little three-dimensional view. So I'm just drawing the tabs, and then what I'm going to do is 30 degrees. I'm going to do a little isometric drawing, 30 degrees, little lines out like that, be lines underneath there. I'm just going to go around that a bit darker so it stands out. So if you get time, you could outline it, your drawing so they stand out. There you go. And then I need to talk about what materials I've made. Now I could use foam board. So foam board, possible material. But I know that there's a plastic called Foamex, which is basically a foam. It's bendy and stretchy, and that would obviously bend around the shape quite nicely. So this could be made from foam board, this could be made from Foamex, but probably best to make out of one material, or Foamex, which will bend around the shape. And obviously, because it's plastic, it's a type of foam, you won't have to colour it. It's already coloured. Foamex already coloured. Okay. All right. And we need to talk about how we're going to manufacture the pieces. How would you make those pieces? So pieces manufactured by, and if this is done industrially, that would be die cutting. They have a pattern, sharp knives, stamp into the material, cut it out, stamp into the material, cut it out. There aren't any folds in this material, so it'd just be the sharp knives cutting into the material, like a cookie cutter, remember? When you make cakes, cut the pattern of the cake out, same thing. Okay, I'm going to talk about the tabs a little bit. If the tabs are straight like that, then the possibility they might keep coming out of the slot. So I'm going to basically shape the tabs so they go out a little bit, because the Foamex is a bit spongy as well. So the foam tabs shaped so they don't come loose or pop out. Okay, so I'm highlighting the shape here. Okay, and then have it going into the tab. Okay, so the foam pushes into the tabs. What I'm going to do now is talk about the hole in the back. So possibilities. So there's the shape again, roughly. Hole there. The hole could be at the bottom though, if you think about it. It'd be easier to get the coins out if the hole was in the bottom, maybe. Difficult to put your hand in there, so the hole isn't that big. It'd be easier to get the coins out the bottom and take them out. So we can say that. So hole at bottom, a better position. We'll go around those shapes. Okay, there we go. I'm going to talk about hole large enough for your hand. So you need to be able to reach in. So you need to make sure the hole is large enough for the hand. Talk about this little plug thing we're going to make. So I'm going to draw that again. Draw the little plug, and I'm going to draw it from the side. See what it looks like. So it would look like that. Screw thread. If you just draw diagonal lines for a screw thread, that's good. Little handle. So handle. So it's easy to screw out. Screw thread. That's what the thread is, the bit that goes around. It creates the screw. So then this would be injection molded. So we'll look to injection molded. It's a little plastic piece. So that would be probably injection molded. Anything that's quite small, made of plastic, has quite an intricate shape would be injection molded. So that's going to be made from some kind of acrylic or nylon. Plastic there. And then I'm going to do very, very simple, very quick side view. So from the side it will look like there'll be two layers, the front layer, the back layer, and then you might just see the little tabs poking out. So just draw those in. So that's from the side. I'll draw the ground there so you can see it sitting on the ground, and we can add some dimensions to that. So remember, two little lines, dimension line, two little arrowheads. And again, to get an idea of dimensions, you can use your ruler. Put your ruler in front of you and kind of imagine you're holding it. So I'm going to imagine I'm holding it. So it's going to be about 200 millimeters wide. It's almost square, but not quite. So maybe 180 millimeters. So I'm going to turn the page around. 180 millimeters. And then I might dimension. I should dimension it on a orthographic, but I can dimension it here. And the width would be about 200 millimeters. Okay. Finally, we're going to add a bit of colour. So if you get a chance at this point, add a bit of colour. So I'm coming towards the end of my time on this question. So I'm going to quickly add some colour. So it's the kind of dog, obviously. So we're going to use brown pencil crayon. So make sure that's sharp. And if you add colour, do it. Pay attention to the colour and think about the colours you're going to use and why you're going to use them. I've mentioned one thing I've forgotten about is some graphics on here. So there needs to be some graphics. So I'm going to put very carefully RSPCA. So I'm going to draw myself a line there. RSPCA. Just going to indicate some lettering. Just be careful with your lettering. Okay, don't just write it on. Okay. You could have a message on there, so please give generously, or it could be obviously there could be a logo on there. So I'm going to put a logo so we know it's official. It's the official RSPCA. Could be some information on there as well. Okay. So So we're going to add some colour very quickly. Just be careful with your colour. Take your time, but also be aware of the time that you have in the exam to do this. Got about 3 minutes or so left. So this question should take about half an hour, and that obviously includes the criteria as well. So I'm going to go around the lettering quite carefully. There we go. I'm going to add some colour to that in just a second. Okay, I'm not going to completely go around the dog's face. When you colour in, try and add the colour in the same direction as much as possible. So I'm trying to keep my pencil going in the same direction. Not pressing on too hard. I want to go around the logo. I want to go around the tabs as well, because the side is going to be white. I wouldn't choose black. Never do it with black unless there's a particular reason, because it's just too dark. And there you go. And I'm going to do the back edge. It's going to be darker as well. The edge is going to be also in brown, like that. And this, I'm going to leave that white. Obviously his nose is black. Cartoon images you usually use. Leave a white circle on his nose and his eyes. Gives that little glint. I'm just going to go over that. That's the slot. Go over his eyes as well. There you go. I'm just going to draw those lines in very clearly there as well. There we go. Okay. Could add a bit of shading, because around here it could be dark. We're going to come round to the light there, just to add, so that it makes it look a bit more three-dimensional. A bit of shading here maybe as well, where those little turns are. Okay. Okay. And you could add some colour onto the back here as well. You can just add a bit of shading to the pieces, just to make them. So just do that by just drawing it in the corners like that. And add a bit of a shadow here. Make that look like it's standing on the surface. There we go. Okay, and you could also use colour to highlight areas. So if you're gonna, the tab pictures here, I could just go around those to highlight the shape of the tab to help that stand out. So that's obviously something I need to look at when I'm designing. We could also highlight the injection molding, the piece there. Okay, make those stand out as well. We could do that on here. And finally, we could also, if we get chance, time's running out, we can add some backgrounds to emphasize the shape of our design. There, like that. Could add one here as well. But obviously, I would only add those if you've got the time to do so. There we go. So we enhance the sheet with using colour. So a creative solution meets the design criteria. So we make sure that you can put the money in and take it out quite easily. Obviously the slot, we've got the size for that, so all the coins. Specific names of materials and construction techniques. So I've got die cutting, I've got the Foamex or the foam board. I've got the nylon or the acrylic. It's been injection molded, so I've covered that. How to assemble your collection box. I've covered that you would have to bend that round and they would slot together. Fantastic, we've done that. How to open your collection box, we've covered that as well. So I think that it ticks all the boxes on that sheet. And there you go. Okay, so we're going to turn over and we're just going to do the last part of the question, which is using your design criteria, evaluate the suitability of your design. So obviously you have to staple together, so you're going to have to go back to your design criteria. I'm going to have a look at mine, and here we are. So you have to flick back to that. So easy to assemble. So I'm going to look at my design, and I'm going to ask myself the question, is it easy to assemble? Yes, I think it is. I think the user would be able to construct that quite easily. It's very obvious how it works. Possible to take the money out? Yeah, I think it's possible to take the money out quite easily. So you can get it out. Obviously, you need to make sure the hole's big enough. And the slot big enough for the coins, and I tackled that in the question, the first part of the question there. Yes, I think the slot is big enough. So I think my design meets all those design criteria. So that I'm going to just write my evaluation very quickly there. Okay, so here's my answer to that question, and what I've done is I've begun each answer with the design criterion. So my first one was easy to assemble. I've written that, easy to assemble. So I've written my product only uses 4 parts, so it's quite simple to put together, and it's obvious and easy to put together using simple tabs and slots. So my design is pretty obvious how it fits together. Possible to take money out. So using the hole and plug at the back, it is easy to take money out. The hole is at the bottom to help. So don't just say yes, possible to take money out. Yes, it is easy to take money out. Say why. Say because you've made the hole big enough, because you've positioned the hole in a certain place. Slot big enough for all coins. So the slot is 50mm by 5mm, which is big enough for all large coins and folded notes of any kind. So I've mentioned that I've thought about the size of the slot. I've maybe used my ruler to help me, and I've thought about the size. I've noted down the size, and I've said that yes, that's definitely going to be big enough for all the coins and all the notes to be able to fit in. So you get kind of 6 marks for that, 2 marks, you know, a mark for saying, relating it to the design criterion, and another mark for saying, well, how does your design meet that design criterion? And the last part of the question is 1D. Name one commercial production process for cutting out car components. Obviously, this could be a different question depending on the exam, but obviously die cutting would be the commercial process, and obviously I talked about die cutting in my design on the design sheet. And there you go. So that's question 1. So 1A, 1B, and then we turn over 1C and 1D. So what you need to do now is get your blank paper, have a go. You can copy me using this video if you like, but if you do, then I would like you to have a go designing your own shape based on one of the photographs, or based on the theme sheet that I'm going to give you, or based on something else. It's completely up to you. Okay, have a go. See how you get on.